You're watching Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. On today's show, we're going to focus on some round one draft targets for the Bears beyond quarterback. We know they're taking Caleb Williams number 1 overall, but what is this man thinking for number 9? Is he going to trade up? Is he going to trade down? Is he sticking at 9? Who's he going to target? We're going to dive into some names coming up here on today's show. Caleb Williams will be the Bears pick at number 1 overall, but as we explore some Bears draft targets, you wonder what they're thinking beyond that because, A, we've heard them talk about a lot. We want a blue player. We want a blue player. That's blue chip. How far could you trade down to still get one? That's unclear. If you stay at 9, you're pretty much guaranteed one, I would think. But you factor in the Bears don't pick again until 75, as they do only have the 4 picks in total, 1, 9, 75, and 122. If there's a player you love at 9, you take them. I've kind of had that stance for a while. If there's a few you really like, trade down a couple spots if that trade's available. If you don't love a player at 9, then really try to trade down. But I think they have options. There's flexibility there. And they've got needs to fill. You're going to get your quarterback. You can check that one off. But I think 2 through 5 are kind of interchangeable. I would go BPA 2 through 5 with the number 9 pick. That's kind of my mentality right now. Trenches player or a receiver. And, I've talked a lot about the receivers. If the top 3 are there, that is the direction I would go. That's why I mentioned these 3 players off the top. Unlikely draft targets if you stay at 9. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Joe Walt. And I mean unlikely in the sense of they're just not expected to get to 9. If one of them does, you take them. Now, we're going to talk about Rome Odunze in a second. I have Rome higher than Alt, but I think it's more likely that Alt is gone versus Rome, if that makes sense. So, if it's Rome and Alt at 9, I would still take Rome, but I don't think he gets there. I think the Chargers at 5 and the Titans at 7 are prime teams to take Alt. I don't think Neighbors gets there. I think the Giants, if they don't go quarterback, would take him at 6. I think Marvin's probably the first non-QB off the board, so he should go top 5. Now, name a player worth trading up for. Maybe you want to move up for one of those guys. Drop his name down in the comments. I know a lot of people want to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm ball game if you don't have to give up a future first, but I just don't know if that trade is going to be available. But drop a name in the comments that you would like to trade up for. Now, my number 1 Bears draft target, if you sit at 9 and it's realistic, is Rome Odunze. I think there's at least a pretty good chance he gets there. Running different mock drafts, seeing what the national guys are saying. I would say it's at least 50-50 he's still available when the Bears pick at 9, and that's very exciting because this guy can really do it all. He would be the first receiver off the board in a lot of drafts. He just happens to be in a draft with 2 other Hall of Fame potential guys, and I think Rome could reach that level as well. I just think Marvin and Malik are slightly higher on most people's boards, but you get this guy in here, he can play the X for you. DJ Moore plays the Z. Keenan Allen plays the slot. But the beauty of all 3 of those guys is they can all move around. Rome can play slot. He can play Z. He can play X. They can all be effective in motion as well. He still remains my top realistic target at 9. If he's available and the other guys that you don't think are going to be aren't, that's who I'm taking. Even if Joe Alt's there, I would take Rome Odunze over Joe Alt. I can more than get by with Braxton Jones at left tackle. Rome Odunze, grow with Caleb Williams for the next decade. I love that idea. Number 2, Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas. A lot of reporting in recent days suggesting that he could end up being the top defensive player taken, and I've had him as my top defensive player for a while. It was Dallas Turner earlier on in the process, but the more I watch this guy, and I just think since you already have Montez Sweat, I still think there's question marks about the 3-tech position here. I'm rooting like crazy for Gervon Dexter. If the Bears think he's ready to take that big next step, then yeah, don't take Byron Murphy. But if you still have questions about his pad level, his get off because he's a little slow off the snap, then Byron Murphy, those are 2 things you don't have to worry about. He's very quick off the snap. He's very quick and powerful in general. He uses his shorter height to his advantage with his low pad level, and we know the Bears are interested. That's pretty well documented at this point. And by the way, if you think Murphy and Dexter takes that step, that's not an issue. you rotate a lot on your defensive line, especially in the interior. And Dexter, one thing I really liked that the Bears did last year, they started moving him around. They'd put him at edge every once in a while and just bulldoze a right tackle, and he was pretty effective in that regard. He's big enough to give you some snaps at nose tackle, especially on clear passing down. So you could play these guys together. You could obviously rotate them a lot. The Bears only have 3 defensive tackles that I think are worth getting snaps right now. Not Byron Murphy, he'd be the next one. Gervon Dexter, Zach Pickens, and Andrew Billings. You need another defensive tackle regardless. So I like this idea. He would be my top defensive guy. I would take it number 9. Before we get to my next player here, let's talk about today's sponsor. That is, of course, Game Time, the best ticketing service app that is out there. Get out of your house and start having some fun. And if you want to get the best seats and the best prices available at the last minute, maybe you're someone who lives in the moment and wakes up on one day, hey, I want to go watch the Cubs at Wrigley today. Do it. Do it with Game Time. They got the best tickets available. You can wake up, game in 2 hours, boom, you're going to be able to find tickets available. They got flash sales the day of, zone deals as well. And what that means is, hey, they're trying to put butts in seats. They don't want empty seats at Wrigley Field. They don't want them at Guaranteed Rate Field either. That's kind of harder to avoid at this point. But, hey, you can get in for dirt cheap, couple of bucks. You can go watch the White Sox play, and even if it's bad baseball on that side of things, you can maybe go watch a good team in town, get yourself a hot dog, and have a day. Listen, concerts available. Rolling Stones rolling to Soldier Field in the month of June. Go see some legends while they're still going at it. It is Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use promo code ChatSports when you create your account. You're going to get $20 off. Link is in the comments and in the description. But if you just search Game Time, that big white letter G with the black background, that is their branding. You'll find it right there. Create your account. Use the promo code ChatSports. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. It's Game Time. Go check it out. Taliese Fuaga, who, 2 through 4 are very close for me. Fuaga is, I really like him. You guys know this. We've talked about him a decent amount. He, I thought, had very close to the best tape this year out of all the offensive tackles. I gave the slight edge to Joe Alt, and even if it's a tie, I would give him the edge because he's played left tackle multiple years. That's my one question with Taliese Fuaga. Can he play left tackle? I know he can be a plug-and-play right tackle right away, just like Darnell Wright last year. I think he can kick inside and be an awesome guard, just like I think Darnell Wright could have been. Can he play left tackle at a similar level that he plays right tackle? That is the question. Does he have the chops to do that? Because you're not moving Darnell Wright inside. Now, maybe you move Darnell Wright to left tackle. Maybe long-term, one of Wright or Fuaga would kick inside to guard, and you could just put them next to each other, and they could just wreck people. But it's kind of hard to draft Fuaga at 9 if you don't have a left tackle plan or if he doesn't have left tackle ability. Some people think he could play left tackle. Some people have reservations. So that would be up to the Bears to decide. If the Bears came out and told me, hey, he could play left tackle, that's where we would play him, I would have him very high here. If not, I would probably have someone who I'm about to talk about a little bit higher, at least in a Bears-focused big board when I'm looking at some draft targets here. Speaking of draft targets, we're focusing on round 1 guys here, but go check out our day 2 draft targets video. We look at some guys you could potentially get at number 75, or if the Bears end up with a second-round pick if they trade down from number 9 overall. Lots of players we dove into. Friday is going to be busy as well, so you want to be up to date with some of those players. Also, go check it out. Go subscribe. If you go to the content tab, scroll down a little bit, you'll see this thumbnail, and you can go watch that video. I'll also pin in the comments this video that you can go check out if you want to take a look at some day 2 targets. All right, next up here is Olu Fashanu. Now, I think Fuaga, was a better player last year. I do. But Fashanu is the second best left tackle in this draft. He's played it for multiple years. If he came out last year, he might have been the first tackle taken. And by the way, he didn't get worse this year. I thought he improved. I just thought a few other guys really elevated their games, like Fuaga, J.C. Latham's of the world, which has Fashanu sliding a little bit. I think 9's probably a little rich for him. Like, I'd prefer to trade down to like 12 to 15 and get him, but he's still rock solid. I think he needs a little bit of work in run blocking, but he's a good pass blocker, and I think he would be an upgrade over Braxton Jones. Now, I don't think he's a guy that would give you versatility that could kick inside. So, if he didn't work out at tackle, I think you'd kind of be just SOL, shit out of luck. But I like him as a prospect. I think for the Bears, if they have questions about Fuaga's ability to play left tackle, Fashanu's probably a better option, probably a safer option in that regard as well. Now, pick an offensive tackle. Who would you rather have? Type TF for Taliese Fuaga or OF for Olu Fashanu. Let us know in the comments below who you would rather add on the offensive line. Now, I debated my fifth guy here. You could go in several directions. And by the way, really like 2 through like 7 or 8. It's pretty close. You could make an argument for a lot of it. But Dallas Turner, I just wanted to hit another position, the other position we haven't hit here, and that is edge. You look at my top edge prospects here, Turner, Verse, Latu, Robinson, and Darius Robinson too. Those last two, I think, kind of a little bit behind the top 3. I think I've decided that Dallas Turner is the only edge that would be in play for me at number 9. I think that's too rich for the other guys. Latu, if he had no medical history, different story, because I think he's a very polished pass rusher, but with the spinal or with a neck fusion surgery, that concerns me. I don't have full access to the info. He's been healthy the last 2 years, but I would have to have more information there. And Jared Verse is really, really good. I don't think he's top 10 good, though. I think you could get him later in the first round, so I'd rather trade down. So if we're going to stay at 9 and take an edge, I think Dallas Turner's the guy. Even if he's not, a textbook 4-3 fit, I think he's got the athleticism and power to do it despite being just under 6'3", 250. The upside's massive. You put an athlete of his caliber on the opposite of Montez Sweat, who's just kind of the rock-solid player, I think that could really, really work well for this defensive line. So, again, I think these edges are more worthy in the middle of round 1 instead of inside the top 10, but Turner would be the one guy that I would be willing to take at number 9 overall. Now, some other round 1 targets, and I think in most of these cases it would be a trade-down situation, but Brock Bowers, damn good prospect. If I'm doing an overall big board, he's for sure inside my top 10. Obviously not as premium of a position and a need for the Bears at tight end, but I would still love to have him. J.C. Latham, Troy Faltanu, they can play tackle, they can play guard. Can Latham play left tackle? If he can, he'd probably be a little higher. Hasn't done it in college. That'd be a question I have. Again, Latu and Verse, we've talked about those guys. Brian Thomas Jr., and a slight trade down, I think he's worthy of going pretty high. Adonai Mitchell, he's a talent of a top 10 pick, but there are question marks about his kind of focus at times and things like that. But round 1, certainly in a trade down. Jerzon Newton, really good player. I just have him a little bit behind Byron Murphy at defensive tackle. Jackson Powers-Johnson, it came out from Dane Brugler and the Beast that there are minor concussion concerns there, so that would give me some pause for a player playing center. And then Graham Barton, he's rock solid. He might end up being the first interior offensive line taken, unless, Faltanu kicks inside. But Barton's really, really good, and a big trade down, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. All right, fill in the blank. The Bears will draft blank at number 9 overall. Who is going to be the pick for Chicago? Let us know what you guys think. All right, you guys can see it on your screen right now. I got to read it off my computer because I'm too far from the screen here. But some stadium news. Kevin Powell of WGN tweeted out this media advisory. A couple other people have tweeted out as well. It says, Chicago Bears plan to announce plans for new stadium and additional green and open space on Museum campus on Wednesday, April 24th. That, of course, is on the lakefront. The Bears, in collaboration with city officials and stakeholders, will host a press conference on Wednesday, April 24th. To announce their plans for a state-of-the-art, publicly owned, enclosed stadium along with additional green and open space with access to the lakefront for families and fans on the museum campus. Certainly feels like the Bears are staying in Chicago at this point. Like, again, until something is finalized and, publicly released and, what's the old phrase, shovel hits the dirt. Sure, we can be skeptical and think they're going to Arlington Heights. I was for a while, but Kevin Warren seems determined to keep the Bears in Chicago, and it seems that's where this is heading at this point. So as more updates come in, we will continue to cover those. But Wednesday sounds like we could have something more official in that regard. Be sure to subscribe for more Bears news, rumors, and updates, and, of course, draft coverage as it is draft week.